Hey, welcome to Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. Today we're going to talk about the 2025 CEDIA Expo. Now, what is CEDIA? CEDIA is a trade show for commercial integrators. Commercial integrators are people who install things in houses, but particularly like low voltage things, for the most part, like stereo systems, central vacuums, lighting, shade controls, kind of home automation at the same time. That's how this fits in my wheelhouse of things. So I'm just going to bring you around the show, show you some cool things I saw. I will say, as far as branding goes, I think CEDIA has a great logo, and everything was decorated around the Colorado Convention Center with all their logos and stuff. And the convention center is a pretty big place. As you walk in the show, there were several little rooms, like LG had one. It was just a conference room. There was, of course, Tektronix, who makes high-end audio equipment. They had some interesting things on display here. I just think it's cool to see full-size stereo equipment in 2025, especially record players. It is amazing that record players are still a thing, and that is a very nice-looking record player. And they also had some kind of displays showing cutaways, how things work. Very cool. And yeah, I got one of those bags. Now, you also had things like GE here. They were showing off like light bulbs and lighting controllers and all sorts of LED stuff that you don't generally associate GE with, but they had that. They had some light shades, and you could just go in, and each booth was more elaborate than the next. Generally, the bigger the company, the nicer the booth they had. Just walking around the show, here you got JVC, a lot of the big brands that you associate with this sort of thing. Of course, you had these laundry chutes. I thought this was super cool. The laundry jet. So if you had one laundry room in your mansion, this would be kind of cool. And this runs off a squirrel cage motor, apparently, and you can just bring your laundry through PVC drain pipe. Really a cool concept. We've all seen the short form videos on that, but I just thought it was cool to see in person. Amina is a British company, and what we're actually looking at here are two speakers and two subwoofers that are flush mounted in the wall. And what this company has done is basically make a speaker that you can drywall over, put basically anything but stone or brick over the speaker, and it hides in the wall. It has a decent range of dynamic sound, and as you can see, it's just like this thin cardboard thing. It doesn't take up very much space in the wall. You could have insulation or all sorts of stuff. This is a subwoofer that we're looking at here, and yeah, this is their material. They have patented whatever kind of cardboard element this is. It's not cardboard, obviously, it's something else, but yeah, that's what's on that speaker. And it was just super cool to see. And the guys from Britain flew out here for this, and they took a lot of time just explaining it to us, random bystanders. So I really appreciate that. Now, I had to mention some elaborate booths. Sonos had a very elaborate booth. I mean, this booth was so elaborate. It had their product on display, and they had like meeting rooms, and guess what? They had baristas there making coffee and espresso, and I really appreciated that. I was ready for some pick-me-up by the time I got there, and getting a latte with locally sourced beans. And if you don't know, here in Colorado we have a great coffee scene. So yeah, big thank you to those baristas and Sonos for getting me a cup of coffee. Now, there are giant manufacturers there like Lutron that didn't have exactly elaborate booths, but it was pretty elaborate, and they make all sorts of other smart home devices. They're well diversified. You had Samsung/Harman there. They are one and the same. There is the line to the Sony booth. But yeah, you just had a lot of stuff there. It is just remarkable, some of the things they had to do to get all the stuff here. I was surprised to see UniFi here. UniFi makes network equipment and home security equipment and enterprise level stuff as well. So they had some very nice racks on display. They had their home routers on display, and they had their Pro AV systems on display. It was very, very nice booth. It definitely stood out. It was a lot better than the TP-Link booth, of course. And whoever set up these racks, they are just gorgeous. Unfortunately, these are the only mention of their enterprise or their rack mount routers, and I was surprised they didn't have more about that on display here. I was also surprised to find that they make voice over IP phones and voice over audio streaming devices as well. Oddly enough, they didn't have all their cameras on display. Some of these booths were really elaborate. The lighting display of this lighting manufacturer, my god. The detail that was put into this booth, it was an art piece by itself. Wow. Just really cool to see. This was Prolux Lighting, I believe was the name of this manufacturer. But again, they even had like a nice studio editing / gaming setup. And these alcohol bottles apparently were just for display. They were empty. There was also the Aspire booth, which looks like the Denver Art Museum a little bit in its architectural piece. And again, a lighting company that went just all out showing their lighting with different rooms, different moods. They even had like real guitars on the wall, an exercise bike, things like that. Now, manufacturers, you should never do this. You should never leave an unattended booth with nobody around for hours like this. This wasn't somebody running around to the bathroom. Simply just nobody was at their booth for one of the days. Extreme negligence on the part of this company. And one of the most eye-catching things was this. I'm going to call him a cosmonaut. It doesn't really look like an astronaut suit to me, but comment below what kind of suit you think Lunar Walls is using to advertise Spaceman. And maybe it's just AI slop that made it, and they just kind of brought it to life. But seeing him here was kind of cool. And of course, you had Central Vacuums. Now, if you're unfamiliar with VacuFlow or HP products, they make chameleon retractable hoses and Central Vacuums, and also HP products makes steel tubes and things like that. It was good to see that they had a small booth here at the show. They had the chameleon retractable vacuum on display, along with their new compact power unit, the MX3500, which is super strong. I'll have a video on that a little bit later. Big thank you to VacuFlow for bringing me out here. They actually got me in the show, so big thank you to them for inviting me to the show where I could make a video about this and see their booth. Having this functional central vacuum display on display is really cool. It has a spot, a garage vac, and a chameleon on display along with a remote control handle. It really kind of ties together a whole central vacuum in a house in a small display. And I have a whole video on central vacuum installation and most of these products you see in this booth, so definitely go check those out. Well, that was my experience at CEDIA 2025. I know it's been a few years since I've done a trade show now that the VDTA is no more. I've thought about maybe going to CES and covering the vacuum cleaners there as well. That seems to be the only other show where there's vacuum stuff at. Comment below if you'd like to see us do that. If you want to continue to support the channel, definitely check out Patreon and share this video. Have yourself a fantastic day.